Hare Krishna. Today we're going to talk about the importance of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. I'm going to be candid here and say this video is not an easy one for me. Being a disciple of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami and a follower of Sripad Narasingha Maharaj, I feel compelled, however, to speak on the subject. I'm not really qualified to do so, but by repeating the words of my gurus, I feel like a faithful servant, even a very little one. Srila Sridhar Maharaj is very important for our Sampradaya. Why? For many reasons, and one particular reason is the most important of them all. Here are some of the reasons. First of all, he was Srila Prabhupada's friend, giving valuable instructions for many years. He gave sannyas to Keshava Maharaj, who in turn gave sannyas to Srila Prabhupada. Without him, the succession would be broken or very different. Also, Srila Prabhupada actually accepted Srila Sridhar Maharaj as his shiksha guru. He wrote a letter to one of his disciples in 1969. Srila Prabhupada says in that letter, "So if you're actually sincere to take instructions from a shiksha guru, I can refer you to the one who is most highly competent of all my god brothers. This is Bihar Sridhar Maharaj, whom I consider to be even my shiksha guru. So what to speak of the benefit that you can have by his association. So if you are serious about the advancement of your spiritual life, I would advise you to go to Sridhar Maharaj. It will be very good for your spiritual benefit, and I will feel that you are safe." When I was in India with the others, we lived with Sridhar Maharaj. You can also make arrangements for your other god brothers to go there in the future. Bhaktivedanta Swami, letter to Rishikesh Das, January 31, 1969. But Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj gave the disciplic succession even much more than that. This is the finest point. Sripad Narasingha Maharaj writes in one of his articles, Srila Prabhupada was spreading Krishna consciousness outside of India, practically all over the world. He did not go to every single place, but what he set into motion continued, and he must be credited with that. Srila Sridhar Maharaj also spread something all over the world that people are only very much aware of now. Not the common man, but something the devotees community is very much aware of now. What is that? That is called Radha Dasyam, servitorship to Radharani. It was not a unique contribution of his own. It is the Kohinoor gem of the Rupanuga Sampradaya. It is a crown jewel, the gem of all conceptions amongst various other conceptions. For example, there is the origin of the jiva, the marginal energy. What is this marginal energy? Where does it come from? Where does it not come from? It does not come from the Leela of Krishna. It comes from Krishna, who is always in Leela. But if that marginal energy does not reciprocate with him in Leela, he then falls into the material world. It comes from the plane of Tatashta. That is the conception of the origin of the jiva. End of quote. By Sripad Narasingha Maharaj. It is difficult for the neophyte devotee to pierce through the scriptures and understand the subtleties and meaning. And it is all right to be a neophyte in the beginning of one's Krishna consciousness. But by following the rules and regulations, by good association, sadhu sangha, one makes rapid progress and comes to the platform of a madhyamadikari. At that point, giving up limiting mundane conceptions that I am this body and his mind, one should be able to understand finer points. Not only that, one who seeks out a shiksha guru after the departure of his initiating spiritual master will find that there is such a soul who will help him to continue on the path. That is why so many devotees went to Srila Sridhar Maharaj for advice. Then, progressing in their understanding, such disciples open their heart for the next step. It is not difficult to understand. Going and seeking a shiksha guru is a natural step. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains about the different types of gurus. He says, the true gurus of the renounced order, Bhiksha Ashram, are those who have taught the practice of sannyas dharma by themselves, accepting the renounced order. Amongst the Grihasthas, only those who are expert in the 9 processes of the devotion, Nava Vida Bhakti, are eligible to accept the position of Acharya of the Bhakti Kanda, the path of devotion. Some people do not practice Shuddha Bhakti themselves, but follow the philosophy of the Smartas, who respect the Karma Kanda. The instructions they give on Bhakti Tattva are totally opposed to the Shastra. End of quote by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We have so many instructions on the matter, and so many examples we can follow. The Goswamis themselves, including the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, had numerous shiksha gurus. Srila Prabhupada states in the purport of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila chapter 1, text 34, Gurun is plural in number because anyone who gives spiritual instructions based on the revealed scriptures is accepted as a spiritual master. Also, others give help in showing the way to the beginners. The guru who first initiates one with the Maha Mantra is to be known as the initiator, and the saints who give instructions for progressive advancement in Krishna consciousness are called instructing spiritual masters. The initiating and instructing spiritual masters are equal and identical manifestations of Krishna, although they have different dealings. Their function is to guide the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami accepted Nityananda Prabhu and the 6 Goswamis in the category of Guru. End of quote by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Sridhar Maharaj instructs. The Gurudev is mentioned in the Shastra with an example. The Shishya, which means the disciple, is like a lotus, and the Gurudev like the water around, just as in a pond or in a lake. Gurudev's position is like water, and Krishna's is like the sun. As long as the lotus is floating on the water, the sun will give life to the lotus. But if the water vanishes, that very sun will burn the lotus. Do you follow? This sort of example is given in the Shastra. I cannot exactly remember the Sanskrit verse, but such example is there, the water along with the lotus, for without water, the sun, Krishna, will burn. Without the help of Guru, the disciple is nowhere. End of quote by Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So in this case, for those who went to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, they were taking shiksha instructions from him. And what was his special contribution? That is called Radha Dasyam, servitorship to Radharani. To be thinking that one can go on his own strengths by remembering the spiritual master and never seeking instructions from advanced Vaishnavas after the departure of one's guru is not practical. Besides the risk to deviate, the material inertia will soon vanquish the lazy disciple. So many tests come after the guru's departure, and one of the tests is the ability to recognize who is a qualified devotee spreading pure, unalloyed devotional service, and who is not. And once you've spotted a qualified representative, can you accept him or her by recognizing their help? Or will you run away, as Sripad Narasingha Maharaj states, as soon as you have to surrender? Sripad Narasingha Maharaj continues. Sridhar Maharaj brought us there, dusted off the chest, took the key out of our own pockets, which everyone had been looking for, and opened the treasure chest. He is saying that Prabhupada has given you the key. Now you have to open it and inherit the wealth of what he has come to give you. But most people ran out of the door, horrified that they might have to actually do something, such as get saved or surrender. End of quote by Sripad Narasingha Maharaj. This is the ultimate test. Don't approach a bona fide spiritual master or a pure Vaishnava with the idea to decorate your living room or to add a picture on your altar or going to class on Sundays and make absolutely no commitment. When you get the gift of precious instructions, don't neglect them. And specifically, don't approach such a Vaishnava as Srila Sridhar Maharaj to then reject him later on because you want to hold on to your misconceptions. Sridhar Maharaj said himself, "I should have died a long time ago, but I am living to give you these things." End of quote. And we want to throw this away? How unfortunate. Coming in contact with such a great soul is extremely rare. Srila Prabhupada created our fortune, and then through Vaishnava parade we would ruin all our good destiny? Maharaj is recommending that we do not throw away this incredible opportunity, this incredible blessing. Sripad Narasingha Maharaj continues. Srila Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj is that empowered personality in the Gaudiya Sampradaya who has shown us the innermost truth in Gayatri and connected that to that which lies in the heart of Srimad Bhagavatam, Radha Dasyam. The purport of Gayatri has never before been so clearly revealed as in the commentary of Shri Gayatri Nigudartha by Srila Bihar Sridev Goswami Maharaj. This is the first time such has been fully revealed since the Gaudiya Sampradaya began. Therefore, Dev, a saintly person, as his title is quite appropriate. End of quote by Sripad Narasingha Maharaj. Maharaj here is revealing an important fact. This was also confirmed by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati that we are devotees of Radha, being Rupanugas. As a matter of fact, when Srila Prabhupada and Srila Sridhar Maharaj met in 1973 at the Sri Chaitanya Sarasvat Mat, they were discussing Srimad Bhagavatam and Radha Dasyam. Srila Sridhar Maharaj was saying in Bengali, Bhagavat, meaning the Srimad Bhagavatam, means Radha Dasyam. Srila Prabhupada, Radha Dasyam. Srila Sridhar Maharaj in Bengali. Only by his permission it is possible. Swarup Viditam, whose inner meaning Swarup knows. Lalita. Shigora Numa Tam Swarupa Viditam, and what Rupa Sanatan has made it known to the world. The Seva Rasa, which Rupa Goswami presented, Raghunath Das tasted it and enriched it, and the acharyas like Jiva ensured that it is protected, and Sukha Shiva Brahmadi Samanitam, with Sukha Shiva Brahma honored this from a distance. Such Radha Pada Sevanamritam, it is so wonderful that you're capable to give it. Now it goes to the last one. End of quote by Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Swarup Damodar here is revealed as Lalita Devi. And Rupa and Sanatan have presented Radha Dasyam to the world, while Raghunath Das Goswami tasted it and enriched it. And Brahma, Shiva and Shukadeva Goswami have recognized this from a distance. But now this knowledge is being distributed by Mahaprabhu himself to all the conditioned souls. Srila Prabhupada himself wrote in his poem on board of the Jaladuta, "My Guru is Radharani. It is there. Krishna, Radharani will be pleased if you help me in this campaign." So we aspire after the service of Radharani under the direction of Sri Rupa and other devotees, and in doing so, we are not committing any wrong. Sripad Narasingha Maharaj says further, "One who is expert in revealing the innermost plane of the domain of the Lord's confidential pastimes, as is condensed in Gayatri, is certainly worthy of such a title as Dev. Not only is his purport of Gayatri taking us to the Lord's Lila, but Srila Sridhar Maharaj has also concisely manifested Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Divine Lila in his Sanskrit composition, Prema Dhamma Deva Stotra." End of quote by Sripad Narasingha Maharaj. Maharaj is explaining here that the title of Dev, Sridhar Dev, is appropriate because he has not only revealed Radha Dasyam but also commented on the Gayatri mantra and has written that the composition of Prema Dhamma Stotra, which condensed Mahaprabhu's Lila in 72 verses in Sanskrit. Sripad Narasingha Maharaj continues, "Our readers are therefore invited to allow our standpoint as first-generation members of this disciplic succession of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Where we differ from other disciples of Bhaktivedanta Swami that have chosen to remain in ISKCON and of particular relevance to this article is in the claim that our disciplic line prominently includes Sridhar Goswami. This claim is based on Sridhar Goswami's formal role as Bhakti Vedanta Swami's initiated Grand Master, Sannyas Diksha Param Guru, into the Renounced Order, and the long-term intimate relationship of Bhakti Vedanta Swami and Sridhar Goswami, and Bhaktivedanta Swami's direct instruction to his disciples to approach Sridhar Goswami with their crucial philosophical inquiries after his disappearance." End of quote by Sripad Narasingha Maharaj. Maharaj mentions three things. Srila Sridhar Maharaj gave sannyas to Srila Prabhupada's sannyas guru, therefore becoming his sannyas Diksha Param Guru. the long-standing friendship with Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada, and the advice of the latter to go to Srila Sridhar Maharaj for further instructions to his disciples. If there is any doubt remaining in our minds, then this last statement of Swami Narasingha should put us straight. Swami Narasingha Maharaj continues. After the disappearance of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Goswami, the close relationship of Sridhar Goswami with Bhaktivedanta Swami was akin to that of Shiksha Guru instructing spiritual master and disciple. In the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, the spiritual master who initiates according to the regulation of the Shastras, scriptures, is called the Diksha Guru, and the spiritual master who gives instructions for elevation is called the Shiksha Guru. The initiating and instructing spiritual masters are considered non-different. That is, one is not to make distinctions between them even though they manifest in different bodies. End of quote by Sripad Narasingha Maharaja. We are so bodily conscious that if a guru appears in a different body than our Diksha Guru, then we have a tendency to think he is not the same, he is not what we expected. And furthermore, in his way of speaking, if his way of speaking is different and his realizations bring us further along the bhakti path, we hesitate, trying to crawl back to familiar territory. Especially this will be true if we have a reticence to surrender to Guru. In other words, our faith in Guru Tattva must be strong, and it might be revealed weak when our initiating spiritual master leaves this world. So we have to be careful. Srila Prabhupada shared with us, I took Sridhar Maharaj advices, instructions very seriously, because from the very beginning, I knew he is a pure Vaishnava, a pure devotee, and I wanted to associate with him, and I tried to help him also. Our relationship is very intimate. After the breakdown of the Gaudiya Math, I wanted to organize another organization, making Srila Sridhar Maharaj the head. End of quote by Srila Prabhupada. If only we were connected to the proper association, we would have realized how close Srila Prabhupada and Srila Sridhar Maharaj were. And perhaps some devotees would have remained in Srila Sridhar Maharaj's association. We would have discovered that what an amazing Vaishnava he was and how much we would gain by his association. Sripad Narasingha Maharaj continues. Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Goswami greatly appreciated Sridhar Maharaj's writings and stated publicly regarding his presentation of Gaudiya philosophy, I am satisfied that after me, what I came to say, that will stay, that will remain. Moreover, Sridhar Goswami's commentary on the Gayatri mantra, Shri Gayatri Nigudartha, was prized by the members of the Gaudiya family as an unprecedented and significant contribution to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And a quote by Sripad Narasingha Maharaj. Such beautiful praises for Srila Sridhar Maharaj. After my departure, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says, in other words, that Srila Sridhar Maharaj truly represents me, and I can leave this world convinced that my message will be broadcasted all over the world. Prabhupada writes further, so we are very fortunate to hear His Divine Grace, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrakacharya Bhakti Rakshaka Sridhar Maharaj. By age and by experience, in both ways, he is senior to me. I was fortunate to have his association since a very long time, perhaps in 1930. So my Guru and Vaishnav, whatever position I have got, it is by Guru's mercy and the blessings of the Vaishnavas. Otherwise, how I may have. So I wish that Sridhar Maharaj may bestow his blessings, and he was doing always, as he was doing always, and may Guru Maharaj help me so I can do some service. By his grace, it has become successful. I have no credit. I do not know how things are happening because I'm not at all qualified. Shatiya Vaishnav Seva Nishtara Payeche Keva. Without serving an ideal Vaishnav, who can be delivered from the clutches of Maya? Without serving an ideal Vaishnav, who can be delivered from the clutches of Maya? What Sripad Sridhar Maharaj has directed, I take it on my head. He is my always well-wisher. After the departure of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it is appropriate that I should accept his direction. This is a letter from Bhaktivedanta Swami, letter to Govinda Maharaj, January 29, 1969. So if Srila Prabhupada accepted Srila Sridhar Maharaj as his shiksha guru, why could not we follow in his footsteps? That was pure ignorance. And those who took his association for a while, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and later on literally demonized him in the eyes of their god brothers and followers, committed Vaishnava parade. For many years, Srila Sridhar Maharaj's name was tainted with their lies and accusations. This is not the work of Shuddha Bhakti, but the work of Mahamaya. You can be sure of that. Sripad Narasingha Maharaj further explains. First, Bhaktivedanta Swami refers to Sridhar Goswami in his formal address and with a full appellation reserved for the most revered spiritual masters in the Gaudiya tradition. His Divine Grace Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya. In the second one, he expressly asks that Srila Sridhar Maharaj may bestow his blessings as he was always doing. And in the third and fourth, he explicitly defined their relationship as one in which Sridhar Goswami assumed the role of his shiksha guru, instructing spiritual master. Furthermore, as early as 1969 up until his disappearance in 1977, Bhaktivedanta Swami encouraged his closest disciples to accept the instruction of Sridhar Goswami. End of quote by Sripad Narasingha Maharaj. This should be very clear. Srila Prabhupada himself revered Srila Sridhar Maharaj as his shiksha guru. Thus he trusted him to give his blessings to him and indirectly to us, his disciples. And later, just before his departure, Srila Prabhupada advised that those who had further inquiries should approach Sridhar Maharaj. The most important, last instruction was mostly hidden to the common devotees, and among those who went to him, how many of them understood his message? Sripad Swami Narasingha concludes. It is the assessment of the author that the difficulties that developed in ISKCON after Bhaktivedanta Swami's disappearance have been caused by disobedience to the instruction of the spiritual master and vilification of his highly respected and intimate godbrother, Sridhar Goswami. They are predictable outcomes of the rejection of the spiritual master according to the communally authoritative rules which Gaudiya Vaishnavas accept universally. Bhaktivedanta Swami's instruction to accept the guidance of Sridhar Goswami as instructing spiritual master was ISKCON's singular prospect for continued spiritual growth and healthy development after the disappearance of the founder Acharya. Failing to do so, ISKCON can no longer claim to represent the Gaudiya tradition faithfully. End of quote by Sripad Narasingha Maharaja. I'm sure some will be disturbed to hear such statements, but they are statements planted in the firm Siddhanta, not the work of a whimsical person with no standing. From the time of his sannyas initiation by Srila Prabhupada in 1976, Sripad Swami Narasingha never fell down and always supported the Parampara line descending from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur very effectively. He tried his utmost to help his god brothers to rectify their mistakes by giving them good instructions tirelessly. He was not afraid for his own reputation, which he tried to vilify numerous times. Vilification is the work of lazy and weak people. It is the easiest way to try to stop someone from spreading news. But Sripad Swami Narasingha was never intimidated by such tactics. There are other followers of Srila Sridhar Maharaj who can also share their realization on the preaching work of such a great soul. And there are many enlightening books written by His Divine Grace as well. Try to understand the importance of Srila Sridhar Maharaj in our disciplic succession, and try to get his associations through his writings and his followers in good standing. Thank you very much. Hari Hari Bo. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube, down there. And if you wish to hear more, please subscribe. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.